Hello, Paul Glenn here, and I've been meaning to do this video for a little while because we've been waiting for the right kind of firmware to land on the CAF Visinse, and I think this firmware is, it's 3.2 and this is for the CAF Visinse, and this firmware's very much addressed the audio problem with this camera. So prior to this firmware, they brought out another firmware, and it put the camera out of sync, out of audio sync. Whereas now, so I'm recording in the highest quality right now. This is 8K, 30 frames a second, and 100 bit rate. I've got it set for indoor like dim lighting. This window I think is a bit washed out, so that's outside, it's a bit bright out there, so the camera is struggling to handle that and me in this room, but it's not so much of a bad thing. The most important thing is the audio sync, because before it was horrible. Now I believe, I won't know until I watch this back, but I believe that the audio is now in sync. So so yeah, what is this like? So I'm about 1.5 arms length away from the camera, and what are the colours like? You know, what is the 3D like? I think I did a little video before I did this so I could look myself, but it seemed to be absolutely fine. The audio was in sync. The volume, they've lifted the volume, so that was good. So I would say right now the camera is in great condition to just be a camera that you use. You can take this to your family events, you can take it to like sports events, you can take it wherever you like and actually record 3D content, which I think is phenomenal. I've not tried the photographs yet. I'm going to have a little dabble in the photos, but I think the onboard audio is good. There is, I mean, while I've been talking now, the fan has kicked in. I don't know whether when I play this back, like if you listen, I've got a clock ticking, but there is a fan and it sounds quite loud to me. Maybe we don't pick that fan noise up, I don't know. So I would say that we're in a good place. Now, when we talk about settings, this is 8K 30 frames per second. Now, if I move my arms and hands a little bit, you'll see it's a little bit jerky, because I think this is, I'm new to 3D, but I think when you've got 3D 180, you need a higher frame rate. I think you need that 50 frame rate or 60 frame rates, frames per second, because to get rid of this like jerkiness when we're moving something a bit fast. If we stood here doing nothing, then the picture's great. The other thing is, if you're shooting a scene and there's not massive dynamic range difference, you could probably drop the bit rate down from 100, because at the minute this is at 100, make a big file size. You take that bit rate down to 50 bit rate, and the file size becomes a lot smaller, so more manageable to throw it up onto the internet and so on. The downside is you want the bit rate is there if you want to manipulate the image, if you want to shift the colours, increase brightness and so on. If you want to do that and keep detail, you want a high bit rate. That's what the 100's for. The fan is really kicked in there, it's going really loud, so I don't know, it's not even hot in here. I don't know why the fan's got to kick in. I mean, there must be some real heat on the processors for the fan to have to kick in so quickly. I've only been recording for a short moment, but yeah, so I for one might have a habit of recording 6K, so go down to 6K and have 50 or 60 frames per second, because let's face it, most of us upload our video to YouTube. Well, YouTube only allows 4K, so it'll bring the quality of your video down to 4K whether you're shooting in 6K or 8K. So you might as well take the benefit of the faster frame rates of 50, 60 FPS at say 6K video, and you can even then, if you wanted, in post-production, you could slow the video down, so make it a bit slow motion. So yeah, I thought I'd do this little video and just let you guys and gals know that the camera with this update 3.2, in my opinion, is in a very nice place. I still would like to see, and I believe it's coming at the end of this month, at the end of December, they're going to bring another firmware out that addresses exposure, which is what you're seeing going wrong in that window. So it'd be nice to see what they're going to do with that. But right now, this camera, I'll be using it more. Every opportunity I get, I'm going to use this camera. But there's one big tip. There's a lot of people out there, and I follow people on YouTube who are using this camera. Don't put it in your hand and move around with it, because it makes you feel sick. There's some guys, and they're making videos, and they put it on a hand grip, or they're holding it like whatever. But they're basically moving through the woods, moving through the garden, and they're moving with the 3D camera. It makes you, when you try and watch it, I have to stop watching it. It makes you feel sick. If you want to use this camera and have movement, get yourself a gimbal. Put it in a gimbal, and don't do this. Do pushing forward, so you can push forward slowly in a gimbal. This camera will be fine. But you hold it in your hand and start walking around, it's horrible. Don't do it. It's bad. Anyway, that's enough of me ranting. Have a nice Christmas, and I can't wait to show some real footage of something happening, not just me stood here talking. Alright, take care. Bye bye.